It is Friday, April 24, 2026. From the front lines of military scandals to a high-stakes naval blockade, we bring you today's top global developments. The geopolitical standoff between the United States and Iran has entered a decisive phase, characterized by strategic coercion, where the Biden-Harris administration is leveraging a dual-track policy of extreme military pressure and conditional diplomatic openings. At the heart of this strategy is Pete Hegseth, whose public warnings to Tehran to secure a good, wise deal reflect a broader U.S. conviction that time and economic strain are now working against the Iranian leadership. This position of strategic confidence is underscored by a persistent naval blockade in the Strait of Hormuz, a move designed to cripple Iran's shipping capacity and force significant concessions regarding its nuclear program and regional activities. Analytically, the U.S. approach appears to be a calculated gamble based on the pressure plus negotiation model. By maintaining a high-stakes military presence and an economic stranglehold, Washington aims to dictate the terms of any future agreement from a position of absolute strength. However, this level of coercion carries inherent risks. While it may weaken Iran's economic leverage, it also risks hardening Tehran's resolve or provoking a desperate military retaliation that could destabilize global energy markets. The strategic intent is clear: provide Iran with a binary choice between a negotiated settlement involving strict nuclear limits or facing prolonged, unsustainable economic and military containment. On the diplomatic front, Iran is navigating this crisis with calculated caution, as evidenced by Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi's high-profile visits to Pakistan, Russia, and Oman. This diplomatic tour is a clear attempt to bypass the blockade and secure a ceasefire that includes sanctions relief and security guarantees. In this volatile environment, Pakistan has emerged as a quintessential mediator. The tightened security in Islamabad and the intensity of the back-channel discussions highlight the delicate role neutral intermediaries play when direct trust between major powers has completely evaporated. Pakistan's involvement is likely the only remaining safeguard preventing the situation from devolving into a full-scale kinetic conflict. Ultimately, the resolution of this crisis remains uncertain, as it hinges on a fundamental trust deficit. While the U.S. believes its maximum pressure will eventually yield a breakthrough, Iran remains deeply skeptical of American intentions, fearing that any concessions may not lead to permanent relief. The situation highlights a fragile balance. The U.S. is pushing for total compliance while Iran is fighting for survival. Whether this leads to a landmark diplomatic victory or a catastrophic regional escalation depends on the flexibility of both leaderships and the success of regional mediators in finding a verifiable middle ground that addresses both U.S. security concerns and Iranian economic stability. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has publicly confirmed that he is in excellent physical condition following the removal of a small malignant tumor, according to his latest annual medical report. The disclosure, while medically reassuring, carries both political and strategic implications that extend beyond a routine health update. According to Netanyahu, the tumor was detected during regular medical monitoring after a prior surgery in 2024 to treat an enlarged but benign prostate. The malignancy itself was described as a tiny spot of less than a centimeter, indicating that it was identified at a very early stage. Early detection is critical in such cases, and Netanyahu emphasized that the treatment was successful, stating that it removed the problem and left no trace of it. From a clinical standpoint, this suggests a highly favorable prognosis with minimal immediate risk to his ability to carry out official duties. However, the timing and handling of the announcement introduce a layer of political calculation. Netanyahu revealed that he intentionally delayed the publication of his medical report to avoid its release during a period of heightened tensions between Israel and Iran. His concern, as stated, was that adversaries, particularly Tehran, could exploit the information to spread propaganda or question Israel's leadership stability. This highlights a recurring reality in global politics. The health of national leaders is not merely a private matter, but a strategic variable that can influence perceptions of strength, continuity, and national security. From an analytical perspective, Netanyahu's decision reflects a balancing act between transparency and strategic discretion. On one hand, democratic norms and public accountability often require leaders to disclose significant health issues. On the other hand, in volatile geopolitical environments, such disclosures can be weaponized by rival states or political opponents. By postponing the announcement, Netanyahu appears to have prioritized national security optics over immediate transparency, an approach that may draw both support and criticism depending on political alignment. Additionally, Netanyahu's personal framing of the situation reinforces a broader leadership narrative. His statement that he addresses potential dangers immediately, both at the national and personal level, serves to align his medical decision-making with his political identity, one centered on vigilance, preemption, and control. This messaging is likely intentional, aiming to reassure both domestic and international audiences of his continued capability to lead during uncertain times. In conclusion, while the medical aspect of this development appears largely resolved and non-threatening in the short term, its broader significance lies in how it intersects with political strategy, public perception, and geopolitical messaging. Netanyahu's case underscores how even minor health issues, when involving high-profile leaders, can carry outsized implications in the complex landscape of international relations. We have breaking news reaching us this hour. The White House has officially confirmed that President Donald Trump is dispatching Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Senior Advisor Jared Kushner to Islamabad, Pakistan, for urgent, direct negotiations with Iran. This sudden diplomatic surge comes just hours after Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi arrived in the Pakistani capital, signaling a critical attempt to break the deadlock in what has become a defining geopolitical crisis of 2026. According to White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, the American delegation will depart Saturday morning to engage in talks intermediated by Pakistan, a nation that has increasingly positioned itself as the indispensable bridge between Washington and Tehran. The decision to send Witkoff and Kushner, two of the president's most trusted negotiators, indicates that the administration perceives a window of opportunity. For weeks, the United States has maintained a maximum pressure stance, enforced by a relentless naval blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. This blockade has not only throttled Iran's energy exports, but has also signaled to the global community that Washington is willing to risk economic volatility to secure a permanent nuclear and security framework. From an analytical standpoint, this mission is a test of whether military and economic coercion can successfully yield a diplomatic grand deal. The Iranian side, facing internal economic strain and external isolation, appears to have requested this meeting as a lifeline. However, the stakes extend far beyond the two nations. With the Strait of Hormuz currently a military flashpoint, any progress in Islamabad will have an immediate impact on global oil prices and international shipping security. The role of Vice President J.D. Vance significantly. While Vice President J.D. Vance, the lead architect of the U.S. negotiating team, will remain in Washington for now, the White House has placed him and the entire national security team on high alert standby. This suggests that if Witkoff and Kushner report back with a viable framework, the Vice President could fly to Pakistan within hours to finalize a historic ceasefire or a broader regional agreement. As the world watches Islamabad, the narrative of 2026 hangs in the balance. Is this the beginning of a historic diplomatic breakthrough, or is it a final attempt at a deal before the U.S. intensifies its military containment? With Pakistan providing the neutral ground and the White House sending its most loyal envoys, the coming 48 hours will likely determine whether the Middle East moves toward a fragile peace or a broader, more catastrophic conflict. Stay tuned as we continue to monitor this developing story. This is a global crisis at the breaking point. As the world's attention shifts to Islamabad, the coming hours will be the ultimate test of diplomacy under pressure. Will the arrival of Witkoff and Kushner mark the beginning of a historic peace, or are we witnessing the final moments before a major escalation? We will continue to follow every development as it happens. Thank you for joining us for this special update. For the latest on this developing story and more global analysis, stay tuned to our channel. Good night.